Title: The Bone Song of Umbrage Forest. The fog crept among the headstones of the Hollow Creek Cemetery like a hungry specter. The air, thick and cold, smelled of damp earth and an ancestral fear that had taken root in the heart of the town. It was a moonless night, one of those nights when the elders locked themselves in their homes, whispering prayers and clutching their rosaries as if they were shields against the darkness. I, Sheriff Ben Carter, didn't believe in old wives' tales. But after what I had seen and heard in recent weeks, I was beginning to doubt my own skepticism. It all started with the disappearance of Ethan, a 7-year-old boy who had ventured into Umbrage Forest to pick berries. His mother, Martha, had searched for him for hours, screaming his name until she lost her voice. The next day, a group of volunteers and I tracked the forest, but we only found his basket, overturned and empty, near an ancient oak tree whose branches seemed to writhe in agony. Then came the mutilations of the livestock. Cows, sheep, even a couple of guard dogs, appeared torn apart, with the flesh ripped from the bones so cleanly and precisely that it seemed the work of a macabre surgeon. There were no traces, no footprints, only blood soaking the ground and an oppressive silence that drowned out the sounds of the forest. And the howls. Good God, the howls. They weren't the familiar howls of coyotes or wolves. They were deeper, more guttural, full of a primal fury that froze the blood. Sometimes, it seemed like they were coming from all directions at once, enclosing the town in a circle of terror. One night, while patrolling the outskirts of Hollow Creek, I heard something more than just the howls. It was a voice, low and resonant, that seemed to emanate from the forest itself. The words were indistinguishable, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a promise, a threat. It's time to hunt. The voice chilled me to the bone. I turned off the car headlights and remained silent, holding my breath, my trembling hand on the handle of my revolver. The fog swirled around me, thick and sticky, as if the forest itself was trying to engulf me. Suddenly, a pair of eyes gleamed in the darkness, just a few feet from me. They weren't the yellowish eyes of a common predator. They were red, incandescent, full of a malevolent intelligence. The beast moved. It didn't walk, it didn't run, but it glided among the trees with an unnatural agility. It was large, very large, with a vaguely humanoid shape, but distorted, grotesque. Its fur was as dark as night, stained with blood. Its claws were long and sharp, and its teeth, yellowish and prominent, were exposed in a predatory sneer. I didn't stick around to find out more. I started the car and stepped on the accelerator, leaving behind a cloud of dust and gravel. The beast didn't chase me, but I felt its gaze on my back as I sped away. Back at the sheriff's office, I tried to rationalize what I had seen. It must have been my imagination, fatigue, stress. But I knew I was lying to myself. I had seen something real, something terrible, something that didn't belong in this world. I shared what I had seen with the mayor, a fat and sweaty man named Harold, but he dismissed me with a nervous giggle. "Come on, Ben, don't get carried away by superstitions. It's probably just a hungry bear." But Harold didn't spend his nights awake, listening to the howls and feeling the presence of the beast. He hadn't seen the red eyes shining in the darkness. So, I started my own investigation. I consulted the town's historical archives, looking for any mention of similar events. I found something, an old book of records handwritten by the first settler of Hollow Creek, a certain Jedediah Blackwood. Blackwood described a creature similar to the one I had seen, a beast that terrorized the settlers in the early years of the settlement. They called it the Reaper of the Forest, and they said it was a vengeful spirit that fed on the fear and blood of humans. According to the book, the beast had been defeated by a group of brave settlers who had performed an ancient ritual deep in Umbrage Forest. The ritual required a sacrifice, something of incalculable value to the community. In the end, they sacrificed the organ of the town's church. Its sound was divine music that calmed the beast. But what had awakened the beast again? The answer came with the disappearance of old Mrs. Abernathy. She was a kind and gentle woman who tended the church garden. No one had seen her for days, and her house was empty, with the door ajar and a half-finished cup of tea on the table. In the church garden, I found the answer. There, among the roses and daisies, lay a pentagram drawn in blood. In the center of the pentagram was a small bone, polished and shiny. Mrs. Abernathy had been practicing black magic. She had tried to invoke something, and instead, she had awakened the beast. The following night, the howls were louder and closer than ever. I could feel the beast surrounding the town, preparing to attack. I knew I had to do something, that I couldn't let Hollow Creek suffer the same fate as its ancestors. I gathered a group of volunteers, brave men and women who were willing to fight for their home. I told them the story of Jedediah Blackwood and explained the ritual that had defeated the beast in the past. We knew the ritual required a sacrifice, but what could we offer that was valuable enough? Then I knew it. The town library. It was the heart of Hollow Creek, the place where we kept our knowledge, our history, our culture. It was the place where children learned to read and dream, where adults found comfort and inspiration. It was a terrible sacrifice, but it was necessary. That night, we ventured into Umbrage Forest, carrying with us books, manuscripts, and parchments. We arrived at the clearing where, according to legend, the original ritual had been performed. We lit a bonfire and began throwing the books into the flames. The words burned, the stories turned to ashes. The smoke rose into the sky, carrying with it the sacrifice. The howls intensified, getting closer and closer. The beast was furious, but also confused. It didn't understand why we were destroying something so valuable. When the last book was consumed, the bonfire went out, leaving only a bed of glowing ashes. Silence fell over the forest, a silence so deep that it hurt the ears. Suddenly, the beast appeared. It was standing at the edge of the clearing, with its red eyes shining in the darkness. It looked at us with hatred, but also with a kind of sadness. Then, the beast spoke. Its voice was deep and resonant, but also full of pain. "Why are you doing this?" I explained the story of Hollow Creek, the story of the Reaper of the Forest, the story of the sacrifice. I told it how Mrs. Abernathy had awakened it, how it had terrorized the town. The beast listened in silence. When I finished, it sighed, a sound that sounded like distant thunder. "I understand," it said. "But it's not my fault. I didn't choose to be this." I approached the beast. I was not afraid. I knew it wouldn't hurt us. "What can we do to help you?" The beast thought for a moment. Then, it said, "I need to sleep. I need to rest. But I can't do it while this place is full of fear and hatred." I looked at the volunteers. They all nodded. They knew what they had to do. During the following days, the inhabitants of Hollow Creek dedicated themselves to healing the town's wounds. They rebuilt the library, planted flowers, helped those in need. They forgave each other. And, little by little, the fear and hatred began to disappear. One night, I returned to the clearing in Umbrage Forest. The beast was there, waiting. "Thank you," it said. "You have given me the peace I needed." The beast closed its eyes and took a deep breath. Then, it began to fade, turning into dust and ashes that scattered in the wind. The Reaper of the Forest had disappeared. Hollow Creek will never forget the lesson it learned. It will never forget the sacrifice, the importance of community, the power of forgiveness. And every night, when the moon rises over Umbrage Forest, the inhabitants of Hollow Creek light a candle in memory of the beast, a candle that illuminates the darkness and remembers that even in the darkest places, there is always hope.